Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be, why didn't you kiss me sooner? Well, obviously, if you're making out with a woman and she says that to you, it's not a good sign. I've got an email here from a guy I'm going to go through, and he started dating this girl. They had a really fantastic connection, and basically the reason she dumped him is because she said she just didn't feel it. And it's all a direct reflection of the fact that he was holding back every time he was around her. That's one of the worst things you can do, because a natural component of masculine energy is taking risks and going for what you want, being bold, risking rejection, and going for what you want. Damn the consequences. Like JFK said, a man does what he must in spite of the consequences, in spite of the personal risks. You got to at least put yourself out there, because you don't help yourself. It's like if you see a woman across the room somewhere or in a public place and your eyes lock and you're thinking, God, I'd really like to talk to her. You have to go over and talk to her, because if you just sit there and you hesitate, or you start chit-chatting with your friends and pointing in a direction and talking about, hey, look at that really hot girl over there, when she sees that, she's going to tell you lack confidence, and that's all it takes for you to blow it. And when you meet somebody and there's really strong chemistry, strong attraction, where it's unmistakable, when you look in each other's eyes and you just know it's there, you feel it's there, and then yet you start hesitating, you start holding back, it totally ruins a good thing. And those kinds of opportunities where the attraction is that intense from the get-go are very rare, and they don't come along every day. And when you blow an opportunity with a woman like that, it really stings. I wrote about a few of them from my own personal experience when I was in my 20s. I had a girl that, even this day, it's been 20 years ago, actually, this year, that I met this particular woman. It's like, God, she just fucking took my breath away. And I was partying with a buddy of mine, and I don't remember how, but it's like at the end of the night, I'm thinking, God, I didn't get her fucking phone number. I was like, what the hell? And so I knew it. We were talking about where she worked, and she told me where she worked, and I actually called her the next day, just because I didn't think anything of it, because I wanted to go out with this girl, because I knew there was an attraction there. I knew it was mutual. I could tell by the way she looked at me. And when I called her, she said, hey, let me get your number and I'll call you. You know, we talked for a minute or two, and she says, let me get your number, I'll call you back tomorrow. And tomorrow was like a Sunday. And I gave it to her, and then when I hung up, I was like, oh, she's never going to call me. And then the next day she did, and it was like I almost had a fucking heart attack, man. Why did that happen? Because the attraction was really strong. The only reason I didn't get her phone number is because at some point I got pretty hammered. I mean, all of us were drinking later in the evening, and it just, a thought didn't cross my mind. I don't really remember what happened, to be honest with you, at the end of that night. I just remember that at some point she left, and I didn't get her phone number. But we started going out, and I went out with her like 2-3 times. Went to lunches, typical nice guy thing. She started, this was back in the days of beepers, she would beep me at all hours of the day and night, and I would call her back and we would talk. And I was always thinking, when I was in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to get to know her for a while, and then I'm going to spring it on her that I really like her. And it was so obvious that we were into each other. I just kept holding back, and then eventually she just started blowing me off. And then it became where I was calling her. And I remember the last time I called her, left a message, and then she calls my house in the middle of the day when she knows that I'm working, and leaves a message. And then pretty much after that, I knew I was toast. And then a week or two later, I heard she was dating some other guy, and that's what happens. She met some other dude who was willing to be a man, and then I was out, and that fucking stung. I remember it was like 6 months afterwards I was thinking about that. And the funny thing was that about 4 or 5 months after that, I ended up meeting the woman who became my first wife. And I remember where she and I would be out, and the same girl, because we all would go to the same places, and I was hanging out with my wife, and I would catch her staring at me at times. And I didn't really get it, what that meant at the time, but it was just an interesting experience. So you don't want to have those kinds of things happen if you can avoid it. And like, it's just sad. You read this, but it's like every guy's got to go through these kinds of things. This is how you learn. But the idea is to learn from this guy's mistakes so you don't have something like this happen when you meet somebody that you really like. So before we get into it, I got a quote I want to share with you, and we're going to jump right into this guy's email. And the quote says, when you are interested in someone romantically, you should take action the instant you feel the desire. Holding back, masking your attraction, playing games, trying to be friends first, etc., instead of just risking rejection and going for it, will rob you of many great romantic opportunities in life. That's what happened to me with this girl. We went out several times. I never went to kiss her and always gave her the hug. Don't want to be too bold. Don't want to offend her. She was just waiting for me to be a fucking man, and eventually she realized that I wasn't man enough. The longer a man hesitates to approach a woman he is interested in, or the longer he waits to go for the kiss on a date, the more his value will drop in her eyes. Confidence is natural and innate to masculine energy. Being unsure of oneself is feminine energy. Women will lose respect for men who lack confidence, act indecisive, or are unsure of themselves. Women never fall in love or stay in love with a man they do not respect. So let's get this guy's email. He says, "Hey coach, I just read your book for the first time, and God, do I wish I had read it sooner. I know the feeling." He says, "Here's my situation. I was dating this amazing girl for a month. She's a 10, and I'm not just saying that because we were dating. It's not just about looks for me either. We really clicked and shared many of the same interests." It's wonderful when that happens. It's the way it's supposed to be. These kinds of interactions where the attraction is just naturally there. Remember, attraction's not a choice. She felt it for you, you felt it for her. The stars had aligned, the planets had aligned, and boom, you meet a great girl. We had a lot of chemistry, and each date we became more and more passionate, making out in public with each other. He puts in parentheses. He says, in fact, her interest in me got to about an 8 or a 9 until I fucked up on our 5th and last date. She invited me to her home and cooked for me. She cooked ribs, which are my favorite. She was creating an opportunity for sex to happen. And we just hung out, watching movies, talking, cuddling, and eventually making out, but no sex. And listen to what he says. Because afterwards, this is the beauty of reading my book, is that when you go through it, all the light bulbs go off and you go, now I see where I went wrong. It's really a great self-diagnostic tool. He says, looking back on it now and after reading your book, I realized my mistakes. I didn't go for the kill. I didn't do it soon enough, and I didn't show her the affection she needed and asked of me. Interesting. Women help you when they like you, so she's even trying to tell you to be a little bit more aggressive, to be a little bolder. In other words, act like a fucking man is what she's trying to say. She even said as we were making out, "Why didn't you kiss me sooner? Are you shy?" He says she read my inaction as a sign of weakness. I wasn't being the alpha male. All the dates leading up to this last date, we couldn't keep our hands off of each other. But when the setting changed and we were no longer in a public place, I completely choked. Performance anxiety, fear of success, fear of failure, all these things going through your mind. It's like you get all in your head. It's like, should I go for the kiss? Should I go out on a couple more dates? I don't want her to think I'm a creep. And you just keep holding back instead of doing what's naturally happening between the two of you. Instead of naturally escalating things like I talk about in the book, you take it to a certain point and then you just hold back. He says, I was so pissed at myself for blowing this golden opportunity. I could tell the next day that things were going south as she wasn't texting me like she used to. I set another date with her for that Friday night, but the next day she dumped me via text saying there was something missing between us. He says, I kept my composure and I texted back that I enjoyed the time we spent together and wished her the best of luck. The day after the breakup, the night we were supposed to go out again, she texted me pics of her and her kids at a restaurant that had a balloon artist and music and dancing for kids. Her text said something along the lines of, here's an idea of something you can do with your daughters on a Friday night. He says, I was surprised to get a text from her, and I playfully replied, who is this? You must have the wrong number. And then sent, just kidding. That's actually pretty funny. Good job. He says, thanks for the info. She replied playfully, LOL. I'm like, really? Fucker. What I would have done at that particular point was, well, obviously you're missing me. We should get together. When are you free? And made the next date. Because she says, oh, there's something missing. And you're like, all right, good luck. Have a nice life. And then she reaches out the next day. In other words, you communicated that you were willing to walk. In other words, you want something romantic, but hey, if there's nothing there, hey, see you later, I'm out of here. He says, as if I should expect a text from this chick who just dumped me. Since her last text, I have stuck to my guns and not contacted her. My birthday was the following week, and she posted birthday wishes on my Facebook timeline, but I did not reply to it. My question is, how do I get a second chance with her? He says, I understand that I shouldn't chase her, but at the same time, I don't want to sit on my hands and miss my window of opportunity. Well, you kind of already, Elvis has left the building, dude. The ship has sailed, my friend. The train has left the station. One of my friends who spoke German, we always used to have this joke that, because he taught me a bunch of German words, and we had this one, it was called the train station look. And it's kind of the look on your face when you've missed your train and you're just kind of looking up going, it's called Bahnhof. He says, it's been about 3 weeks since the breakup. Thanks again for your work and what you do. So, I mean, at this point, there's really nothing you can do. Wait to hear from her. If she ever reaches out to you again, I would set the next date. And her reaching out to you, saying, hey, here's a great thing to do with your daughters. She could have been feeling guilty. She could have been thinking, being unsure of herself. There could be another guy in the picture. You just never really know. But at the end of the day, she unilaterally changed the terms of your relationship, and you said, hey, I'm out of here. So the only thing you can do at this point is just wait to hear from her. And if she ever reaches out again, assume that she's reconsider. I mean, sometimes women, like 4, 5, 6 months after they blew you off or didn't work out, or they went back to the ex, you just never know. Or maybe they got serious with another guy who they've been seeing a little bit longer than you. They just show back up. That's why it's such a powerful thing to just leave the door open. Never to say, well, fuck you, have a nice life. Don't you ever call me again, you fucking cunt. You don't ever want to say anything like that or be that way. You're just like, hey, well, I'm not interested in just being friends, but if you change your mind, I'd love to see you again. I think you're awesome. Then you walk and you never look back. It's the most powerful thing that you can do, because maybe a few weeks or a couple of months later, she realizes, maybe I reacted a little too harshly. Maybe I judged that guy and I was wrong about him. Maybe I should give him another chance. These things start to go through her mind. And then she reaches out and calls you or texts you or gets in touch. If she calls you, I'm not talking about Facebook messages. If she Facebook messages you, if she emails you, if she texts you, if she calls you, any one of those 4 things, you assume it's because she wants to see you and you make a date. However, if she just likes your Facebook statuses or comments on some of the things, says happy birthday when you got like 50 other happy birthday messages, yeah, I wouldn't respond to any of those things. You just say thanks and not bring it up. But when she contacts you directly, because that's typically what a woman starts to do when they start to come back, is they get a little bolder. And at the end of the day, before they just completely disappear, they'll at least text you or call you or send you some kind of email to get your attention. If they do that, then that communicates that, yeah, they're reconsidering and starting to doubt that maybe they judged you a little too harshly, and they're just fishing around to see if you're potentially interested again. So if they message you, set a date. But if they're just liking your Facebook posts or commenting on things that you post on your Facebook, just like all your other friends are, I wouldn't respond to any of that. I would just kind of ignore those kinds of things, because you want her to go above and beyond that, because you wanted to hang out and then she just pushed you away, and then you just walk and never look back. And 99.9% of the time when a woman does that to a guy, what happens? He keeps contacting her. Then he becomes, okay, well, I'll just play the role of the friend here, and maybe eventually she'll develop romantic feelings for me again. And all you're doing is you're communicating you're weak and you're compliant and you're going along with something you don't really want to go along with. She wants to see that you're man enough to stand up for yourself, and if she pushes you too far, that you'll walk and never look back. It's the best way to handle it when you're in that kind of a situation. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session with yours truly. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.